optimal health, financial freedom, finding your life purpose. It's called The Simple Life. I'm just doing it my way.
Welcome to The Simple Life with Gary Collins, your how-to guide for getting your shit together.
This is life. You gotta work on all these till the day you die. The only thing missing is you getting off your butt and doing it. Hey, Ben. Well, thanks for coming on.
Well, it's my pleasure, of course.
Good economic question for you, because it appears that our federal government has a problem understanding what inflation is, what causes it, and what makes it go away. If you could let them know.
Well, inflation is a secular, that is to say, ongoing, long-lasting rise in prices. It is not a 1 month jump in prices, say, because there was an explosion in a gigantic oil refinery, and so prices might rise for a month in one section of the country. Inflation, part of the definition is that it lasts for a long time, and almost all inflation does last for a long time. The idea that there's a transitory inflation, which I am told President Biden said we had now, is something he made up. It's a concept that is not known to economists. It's in his own world. He's in his own world.
What are the primary?
I hope he's happy in his world.
Oh, I don't think he knows he's in his world, Helen. I think he knows where he's at. But with that, what usually causes inflation to occur? What's the
it's always causes the same thing, which is too much money chasing too few goods, and that is, and it can also, by too much money, can mean also too much worthless money. If there's a huge amount of money in circulation and it's backed by gold, it's not necessarily going to result in inflation. But if it's paper money worth only what people trust the government to make it worth, it can be depreciated in value, whereas the price of the things it buys does not depreciate in value. So it's caused by, well, there's an equation. Do you an economist's favor? I tell you, there's a famous equation called Fisher's Law. And Fisher's Law is that M, which is the rate of increase in the money supply, times V, which is the rate at which it changes hands, or the level of general prosperity, equals P, which is the price level, times T, which is the number of transactions. And if M rises very rapidly and T falls, then you will have a large increase in P. So and so that's what we're having now. We had a huge increase in the supply of money following the pandemic crisis or scare crisis. Well, it's a real crisis, and then the federal government did what it should have done. It did not do the wrong thing. It printed a great deal of money and to spread the money all around, and therefore that we avoided a generalized Great Depression, which we could have had. The problem was that it kept on printing the money, it kept on flooding the economy with money, even after the immediate crisis had passed. I mean, it just hypothesized a more or less endless crisis, and we didn't get an endless crisis. We never get an endless crisis.
So technically, they're artificially stimulating the economy because there's no backing. If there was gold backing it, it would make the inflation work differently.
If there are a great deal of gold flooding the economy, that would cause inflation too. But that really almost never happens. I mean, that has happened when there've been gold rushes and gold booms in the past, but those don't happen anymore. We have a very finite amount of gold. In fact, way too small amount of gold. But we had a Trump policy of just printing a huge amount of money and spreading it all around when the crisis first hit about health, and then Mr. Biden stepped it up and kept his foot on the pedal, and that was the mistake. I don't blame him for it, because it's very hard for him to know when to take his foot off the gas. Nobody really knew, except we've known now for 3 or 4 months at least that it's time to take his foot off the gas. So the fact that he doesn't do it has not done it yet is a pretty seriously obvious mistake.
With that though, I always get asked about gold and silver on my show, and I'm no expert. I always say,
There are
should
very
gold,
few experts.
yeah, shouldn't gold be higher though? Because of what we've been seeing?
It's in a free market. It's in a completely free market. So there's no should or shouldn't about it.
Okay.
It's whatever the market says is. The price of gold was unfixed by my father actually at a meeting in Camp David about 50 years ago, and it's been free to fluctuate ever since. And it has gone up a huge amount, which is a measure of how little gold there is and how many things there are to buy it with.
I get asked a lot, especially recently, of people who have sold properties like me and have cash now sitting. I'm in the same boat. They ask, well, where should we put our money now? And I'm like, I'm struggling too. I mean, I don't know where to put it either.
First of all, it's a good problem to have. Let's face fact. It's good to have excess liquidity. Is a very good thing. When I was 50 years old, which was 27 years ago, I'm sorry to say, or maybe it was when I was 60. Then I was 50 years old. My father, God rest his soul, gave me a list of how many were, I can't remember how many were there were, maybe 10 things to remember. But one of them was liquid assets equals freedom. So it's very good just to have liquid assets. And I think there are plenty of very smart people who think that the next step for this economy is down, not up. So it would be, in that case, you'll be very happy if you have lots of liquid assets. But I have had the great honor and privilege in the course of my life to be friends with Warren Buffett for some time. And he always says, unless you have very, very special information or a very, very special gift at analyzing information, such as Mr. Buffett does, just put it in the index. Just buy the whole 500 S&P 500 index, which you can do for almost nothing. I mean, you get very, very, very good, very, very, very high quality management of your money, and it's diversified, and it's run by, generally speaking, honest people. And there's really no easier, better thing that you can do than buy the S&P 500 index, which is also called the Spiders, and it does very, very well over long periods of time.